Can you pull that warrant? 0040. While you're looking, Detective, let me go back to something I asked you a few minutes ago. When you are applying for these, warrants,
Yes, sir.
You can actually give testimony over the screen, right?
You can.
And did you know that they record those?
I'm very aware.
Okay. Have you had a chance to listen to what you told the magistrate about this same event when you testified before him in January of 2015?
Yeah, back at the last motions hearing, I believe it was December.
Okay. So you would agree then that what you told the magistrate in January 2015 is that Ross walks up to the car, pops open the car door. As he walks in, he turns his head. He's actually looking above the car, and he throws the light bulbs into the car. Throws the light bulbs into the car, shuts the door, walks into work.
Okay.
You agree that that was your testimony in January 2015?
And once again, I don't have the transcript from that in front of me, but it sounds right.
Okay. And is it your testimony or your belief that you're describing the same thing when you testified in July 2014 when asked if he could see the car seat? You said he's in there, he has a clear view.
Yes, definitely.
You think that's the same thing?
I do.
Okay. You would agree Ross doesn't actually get in the car?
Yeah, that was cleared up. Yes, sir.
Okay. And his head, like you told the magistrate in 2015, it actually stays above the roof?
Yes, sir. He bends down a little bit as he's approaching the car. I can't see where exactly, but I would say it stays pretty high.
So when you told the magistrate he's actually looking above the car, you stand by that testimony?
Oh, yes.
He's looking above the car?
When he gets up to the point where he's putting the bag in, yes. But all the way up to it, I don't know where he's looking. In fact, I don't know where he's looking.
Don't know where he's looking. And
but he has a clear view.
And obviously we've all looked at these videos a number of times, and you agree there's certainly no view that shows him looking in the car?
I don't think you could say that watching the videos.
Okay. Do you still have it? Did you pull warrant 15 SW0040 when I was asking you a moment ago about that?
No, I did not. I pulled myself in.
Okay. In that warrant application, do you recall yourself specifically addressing what Ross had told you about the PSA video that he saw on the internet?
I don't have the exact words in front of me, sir.
This is 0040. I'm just going to show you the warrant application.
Okay.
Right there in the middle.
Yes, sir.
All right, so you know what I'm asking you about, and you know what that is talking about, correct?
Correct. You want me to read it? Or we can read it together.
what you state here is that Harris, you're talking about what transpired during the interview here. And part of what you swear to the magistrate is that Harris also stated that he researched the issue of deaths in cars on the internet.
Yes, sir.
Now, were you talking about, well, first of all, the only thing that he told you about on the internet was the PSA video, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, no, because he did say he saw the news program. We don't know whether that was the internet or not, but specifically the vet, correct.
Okay. And, I mean, you agree, that's not what he said. He did not state that he researched the issue of deaths in cars. He didn't state that, did he?
He did not specifically state that he researched the issue of death in cars.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Have you got 439, Brian? Page 439.
Yes.
Let's cue that. I'm going to ask you a few questions about video parking lot that we saw yesterday. One of the videos that you were shown was Exhibit 439, and it had, I think, what was referred to as enhanced video
Okay.
from David Tyler.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell the jury who David Tyler is?
David Toller works for Cobb County. He's a technician that works for the TV station.
And what he did was he took some of the videos from the parking lot and tried to enhance them to make them maybe clearer or easier for us to see.
That's correct.
All right. And in some of them, he actually added a time counter and things of that nature.
Yes, sir.
So yesterday you testified about Ross walking away from his car at lunch.
I did.
And we see in that video, we saw in that video, that as he's walking away, a person passes him on the right and walks past him, correct? To his right.
Or the left. We see it.
His
What person
left.
does? It
His
would
left.
be his left, right?
His left.
Correct.
And in the video, we see Ross stop as he's walking, correct?
Correct.
And you agree that it appears that he looks at his phone,
It appears he looks at something.
okay? And then he walks some more, and he stops again, right?
Correct.
And he looks at his phone again,
Once again, looking at something in his hand, I don't know.
okay?
And you can't really tell where his eyes are, so it's hard to tell from the video what actually his eyes and where he's looking.
Okay. So if Ross's vehicle is in this area where the box is,
Mhm.
and in the video, we see him walking away from it, you would agree that it would essentially be behind him to his, well, behind his right shoulder,
Yes,
okay? And so you would agree that if Ross was going to look at somebody walking toward that car, one of two things has got to happen. He's either got to rotate his head, turn his head to look at whoever's walking past him, right? Or he's got to somehow rotate his shoulders and his torso to look, right?
he could use his peripheral vision, just turn just a little bit,
Okay.
kind of catch a glimpse of it.
Well, once the person's all the way behind him, that's not going to work, is it?
When he's talking about like directly behind him, then no.
I mean, it's not a, it's really not a trick question. I mean, it's gotta be one or the other. He's got to rotate his head, or he's got to rotate his shoulders and torso. One or the other, if he's gonna look behind him.
True.
And you've seen that video quite a few times.
I have.
Right, and you would agree, we don't see that in the video. We don't see him turn his head 180 degrees or rotate his shoulders and torso.
The video is inconclusive. It is what you see. I'll leave it at that.
Leave it at that. Okay. Well, let's leave it at what you said yesterday, which was you can't tell.
It's hard to tell.
In fact, the best you could come up with yesterday was, it's possible.
It is possible.
Okay. But for it to be possible, one of those two things would have to happen. Either his head rotates 180 degrees, or his shoulders and his torso move as he's looking behind him.
Or you can turn just a little bit and be kind of watching out the peripheral.
And you agree that looking at the video, it certainly looks, and it's much clearer the second time that he stops.
Yes.
It looks pretty clear he's messing with his phone, doesn't it?
I don't know where his eyes are.
Okay. Well, what you know about Ross, it certainly would be in character and in keeping if he was messing with his phone while he was walking through the parking lot, wouldn't it?
It's speculation.
Okay. We want you to do that. All right. Let's talk again about the issue that we've been dealing with for 28 months, and it's the child-free from the Reddit.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and talk about that just a little bit. Let me bring your attention, you still got my other copy of the probable cause hearing?
I do.
All right, let's look at page 56.
Okay.
All right. And if you look, starting on line 7, Mr. Bourne asked you, in looking at these subreddits, turning your attention to less than 2 months before this child's death, did he go to any topics pertinent to this case and motive, and what was in his mind? And your response was?
He did.
He did.
He did.
And then Mr. Bourne said, well, tell the judge about what subreddit he went to pertinent to that, correct?
Correct.
You would agree what that was motive and what was in his mind, right?
Towards motive. Correct.
And then read what you swore to the magistrate, or told the magistrate.
Yep. I answered, he went to a subreddit that was called Child Free, and Child Free is a people who advocate living child free. They advocate not having any more children and adding to the biomass, I guess is the best way to put it.
And, I mean, it's certainly no secret. That testimony caused quite a stir, didn't it? In the public and the
I'm
media.
going to object to relevance, Judge.
I sustain the objection.
Did you later testify to the grand jury about this matter?
I did.
You told them that he'd gone to child free?
I did.
We talked about it again in October of 2015, and you agreed at that point in time it was still part of your motive theory in the case.
Yes, sir.
Told me it sounds good. He clicked on it multiple times. Curious, maybe?
Judge, I'm going to object to the characterization of that, because a lot of that are actually Mr. Kilgore's questions from that hearing, not the actual transcript,
I'll move on.
of course.
And I'll stand on, I'll sustain the objection.
And you're certainly aware that one of the detectives tasked with looking at some of these devices in the case was Detective Yeager,
Yes.
and you're aware he's already testified here.
Correct.
Were you here the day he testified?
I was.
Okay. And what he did was, he extracted from the Lenovo, and that was Ross's work computer, right?
Correct.
And do you remember that there was one thing that was brought out during his direct examination, one matter that was addressed and put up on the big screen that was talked about? Remember what that was?
I do not.
Judge, I'm going to object to him commenting on the testimony of another witness at this point as well.
Ask a question.
Were the child-free posts in Reddit, was that issue something that Detective Yeager dealt with in his extraction and forensic analysis report?
It was one of the things that he brought forward, yes.
And did you ever take a look at what those posts actually were?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we've talked about them.
We have.
Okay. So if I showed them to you, you would recognize them?
Yes.
I just have one moment. Detective, I'm gonna hand you what's been marked as defense exhibits 78, 79, and 80. Let's see if you
Thank you.
still recognize those.
Okay.
All right, and you testified a little bit to the content of those posts yesterday.
I did.
But what I've shown you in those exhibits, is that fair to say those are the actual posts that, according to the forensic analysis report, that Ross would have clicked on?
Yes, sir. It does appear so.
Okay, I'll go ahead and move 78, 79, and 80.
No objection.
Admitted.
And again, you testified about this a little bit yesterday, and
Yes, sir.
we've been through this, but the child-free posts that were located, Defendant's Exhibit 78, it says dating is nearly impossible is sort of the heading. And do you recall that it basically is a post from a 23-year-old blind guy in Colorado that is having difficulty dating?
Yes.
Right. The post that's admitted now is Defense Exhibit 79. It says bingoed by a convicted felon, and you would agree it's essentially a post about a lady who has a family member who gets out of prison, and then that family member wants the young girl to have a baby for her, essentially.
Yes, and she doesn't want to have any kids.
All right, and then number 80 says IUD ultrasound on Facebook. equals a bunch of pissed off people. And apparently this girl thought it would be funny to post on Facebook an image of her IUD, and people thought she was pregnant.
Yes.
Okay. And so those were the posts that according to the forensic analysis report, these are the ones that were clicked by Ross.
Yes, on that computer.
Okay. All right, and as it turns out, this child-free subreddit, it was discovered by Alex Hall, Ross's friend.
Yes.
And Alex is the one who directed Ross to this site.
That's correct.
And we know that from those Google chats between Ross and Alex and Winston and Jason Abdo.
That's correct.
And have you had a chance to look at the timing of when Ross actually went to that subreddit?
Yes.
It was immediately after Alex sent him the link, so to speak, for child-free subreddit.
Yes, sir.
And of course, you now know that Ross's immediate response was the word grossness.
Correct.
When did you know this?
Back when we had the Google chats, we had time to go through with it. I don't remember exactly when those came in.
Did you know about this in 2016, that Ross's friend had put him onto this, and that Ross's response was grossness?
But he went to two of the ones after he said grossness. He went back and clicked on something else. And it's just evidence. He went to a website called or went to the Reddit Child Free.
And this is the same child free that in July 2014 testified as evidence motive.
Yes.
When did you know that Alex Hall was the one that discovered that child free subreddit and sent the link to Ross?
I don't know, sir. I don't have a date for you.
Was it this year, 2016?
Once again, I don't know, sir.
Was
I
it
don't
during this
have-
very trial?
I don't have the date for you.
You can't tell me if it was during this very trial that
No,
you
it wasn't
found out?
during this very trial. It was been brought up before, but no.
Brought up by whom? Who knew about this?
I don't recall.
Have you ever made a report about it?
No.
It was something you knew.
Yes,
You testified that this was evidence of motive in a previous hearing,
I did.
and you discovered that's not right, and you made no report.
He went to the Reddit Child Free. We've been through this. He went to a Reddit that advocated child free.
You gonna stand on that then? He went to it.
Yes, I'm going to stand on it.
You previously made a report about drive times from the Chick-fil-A to the Treehouse.
Did.
And I believe you testified to those yesterday.
I did.
And we saw that you and Detective Murphy had a GoPro hooked to the car, and you drove that route again 4 more times. Is that correct?
That's correct, 4 or 5.
Okay. And you would agree that when y'all redid that with the GoPro, you redrove those routes, certainly 3 of those times were at least a minute and a half longer than when you had originally driven those routes.
Correct.
And in fairness, there could be lots of reasons for that, right?
Correct.
Could be more traffic, could be more cars waiting at the U-turn, could be you catch the light or you don't catch the light. There could be lots of factors.
There are lots of factors. Starting point.
But what I want to know is, that I didn't hear yesterday, was exactly what day did you drive the route to do the GoPro, and what time of day did you do it?
The GoPro video was completed on 3/9/2016 in the morning.
I heard morning, but I didn't hear what time.
I believe it was around 10 o'clock. I'd have to look at the actual raw video and see if the timestamp was on there.
But you don't have an actual time.
There is an actual time, but it's probably on the raw video of the GoPro. I don't have it with me.
You didn't ask Ross if he had the radio on during the morning drive, did you?
Actually, yes.
You did.
He said it was on
Do you remember what he said he was listening to?
104.7, I believe. I'd have to look again, but
104.7.
you know what page it is?
I don't. I had a question mark back because I couldn't remember.
Yes, sir. There was a point where we're asking if there was any distractions. I'd have to go through the whole.
It's not. If your recollection is that he said he had it on 104.7.
I think it's 104.5 or
You testified yesterday that
0.7, the fish.
there was no. You had no evidence or any indication that Ross had taken Cooper to Chick-fil-A in the month of June.
I don't believe so. I don't recall, to be honest with you. I don't believe he did.
You can't recall if that's. what
He
you testified.
went, we had 3 receipts. I believe all 3 receipts were after he dropped Cooper off. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong.
You have the, To the best of your recollection, did you testify yesterday that Ross had not taken Cooper to Chick-fil-A in the month of June?
With the evidence that we had.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been, you went over this yesterday with Mr. Bourne, but I'm going to show it to you again. This is Defendant's Exhibit 18. These are 3 receipts from the Chick-fil-A. It's the same Chick-fil-A we're talking about, right?
Let me see. Yeah, Vinings FSU, I believe so.
All right. And those receipts give the time of the transaction, correct?
They do.
And you went back and you compared the times from those transactions to the time that Ross dropped off Cooper at Little Aprons on those days, correct?
Correct.
And 2 of those days, Ross had dropped off Cooper at Little Aprons before he went to Chick-fil-A.
Correct.
And on the 3rd occasion, you found that Ross apparently did not take Cooper to Little Aprons on that day.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mhm.
Other than that, did you have any other information that Ross had taken Cooper to Chick-fil-A in the month of June?
None that I can recall, sir.
Oh, we have to go back and forth.
Anytime's fine with me, Judge. Right now, that's fine.
I know, but I don't want to break into the middle of something if you're not quite finished.
If I could go over one more piece of evidence, that'd probably be, thank you. I'll make it quick.
No, I don't want to, all is good.
Okay. We talked about also having the text messaging between Ross and Leanna, correct?
Correct.
And you've had a chance to go through those.
Correct.
All right. All right, Detective, I'm gonna hand you what I've now marked as defendant's exhibit 79. Make sure I know what I'm looking at before I hand it to you. Okay. And ask if you recognize that text chat between Ross and Leanna.
There appears to be a text message between the two from the,
All right, I want to call your attention to March the 14th of 2014.
yes, sir.
And you see in there Ross referencing,
Judge, just, I think, just formally, I think he needs to go ahead and tender it. I'm not gonna have an objection that this is already in. Before he testifies to it, I think he needs to do that.
It should be 81.
80, it should be 81. I guess I should have stopped while I was ahead.
And this is good lawyerly behavior. I've heard.
81.
Thank you.
81 is the text chat between Ross and Leanna. And encompassed in there is March 14 of 2014.
Yes, sir.
I move 81.
No objection, Judge.
And
Admitted.
thank you. What does Ross say to Leanna about taking Cooper to Chick-fil-A?
Nothing.
What does he say about daddy-son breakfast?
Yep, he just said daddy-son breakfast we haven't in like 2 months.
On March the 14th, he texted his wife that morning and indicated that apparently they were gonna do daddy-son breakfast. We haven't in like 2 months.
Correct.
Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Meaning if he's at all accurate, there was a 2-month span during from January 14th to March 14th where they didn't go to Chick-fil-A together at all.
Correct.
Okay. Now's a fine time to.
Right to the day? Very good, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, push up pads, leave them in the jury room. Keep an open mind, don't discuss this matter with each other, with others. Don't let anyone speak with you about the case. No independent searching, researching, looking, lurking, whatever, about anything to do with the case. The evidence will come to you through this courtroom. Have a very pleasant evening.
Let's all rise for the jury, please. Please watch your step going down. I don't know why I always thought you had an E in your last name. You got one E in, but not, that A kind of separates it. So it's part due. Oh, that's what I was thinking the whole time. I thought you first cousin. Be seated, please. Please be seated.
All right, the sheriff's gonna meet us at 8:30 in the morning. Mr. Evans, I found something that may work as a template for a charge, and I'm working on it, so you don't have to expend your efforts this evening. But it's gonna be in my handwriting.
Credit to Mrs. Treadaway, she may have found the exact same thing you did. It has to do with combination and view of premises.
Yeah, but I found something better than that.
Okay.
No offense. I found that too.
If I can get a copy, Judge, I added this to a Word document. I'm happy to try to put that into a legible version for the court.
Oh, for what? For which one?
Well, I'm actually adding it to the proposed order that we have given to the court, and I'll compare the two of them, and I'll have to give you a copy.
Well, what I found is from the judge's bench book. Oh, you can stay right here. Bless your heart. And it's I think you'd be better off just that we finish doing it and you have it in the morning and y'all can type it in.
Fair enough, I'll leave it to the court now.
You can, I'm happy to let you make a copy of it, but it's gotta be edited substantially for review. But it relates to criminal cases also. What you might wanna look at is Harper versus the state, 182 appeals, 760, pages 61 and 62, 1987. And that deals with a view. And then the pattern from the judge's bench book, and it's going to be, the index doesn't work. There's something wrong with the index. If you look up the index, you're going to be real unhappy. But if you look under 15.39, I don't know that it's electronically published anymore. So if somebody can make a copy for both sides, that's fine with me. And then I'm working on it. Do you mind doing that?
Yes, ma'am.
Just 2 pages.
Back and front.
Basically this. So front and front.
Okay, sounds good.
And there's also, 2 of it, 3. And then also there's a proposed oath to the bailiffs, which I think we need to do. So Mr. Deputy Wooten's gonna get each of y'all a copy of that. You have a time you're anticipating that we're going to do this? And then we'll need to talk to the sheriff first about logistics of it, but the timing is probably.
We're thinking it's probably going to be Thursday at some point, Judge, and we'd like to try to time like either before or immediately after the lunch hour. And we'll discuss that with the sheriff's office as well, make that a component of the discussion.
Okay, that can be discussed in the morning. And I'm working on what I think is a good charge, so y'all can have that if you want to work on something, but I'm kind of inclined to say, wait till I do my work.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
then y'all move from there. I hate to say it, but, well, as soon as I say this, I'm gonna be wrong, but it's not bad working yourself out. I don't know how else to put that.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Is there further business for the state before we recess?
No, Your Honor.
Is there further business for the defense before we recess?
No, ma'am.
All right. Everybody have a good evening.
Yes, sir.